Facilities that make this program possible are provided by the City of Highland Park. Programs are produced independently by members of the community. The City of Highland Park is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of the City of Highland Park.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Dotson, and I'm the founder and program coordinator of Highland Park Poetry and your host today for Poetry Today. I'm very excited to have a guest, Naoko Fujimoto. She was born and raised in Nagoya, Japan. She was an exchange student and received a Bachelor of Arts and a Master's of Arts from Indiana University. Her recent publications are in Prairie Schooner, Hotel America, Rhino, Cream City Review, and many other journals. Her first chapbook, Home No Home, won the annual Oro Fino chapbook competition by Editorial Press. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, other short collections, Silver Seasons of Heartache, was recently released by Glass Lyre Press. Currently, she is working on her graphic poetry collection, which will be published by Tupelo Press. Well, welcome, Naoko. I'm so glad you could be with us today.
Thank you for having me today,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Oh, and I'm so excited that you've brought some of your artwork. Talk to me a little bit, what is graphic poetry?
Okay, so graphic poetry is an advanced version of poetry. So graphic poetry is a poem, and then my theme is trans-sensory. So graphic poetry, trans-sensory, is my currently I'm working on, and then it's my project title.
Okay, transcensory, so sort of crossing over the senses.
Yes.
And so the idea is that the viewer experiences the poem visually.
Mm-hmm. Well, visually and also with the words.
Okay.
So let me explain trans-sensory. So trans means two meanings. First meaning is translate.
Oh, to translate. Okay.
Translate.
All right.
So I have my original poetry written on a paper. It's a flat form. It's with the words, not without any visual or any shape. It's a flat form, regular poem. So I translate my original poem into graphic poetry. So then it's like a erasure technique. I pick up words, which words are going to stay on the paper, and which words are going to be an image. So it's
okay.
It's that translate into graphic poetry.
So if I were to read the poem on the page, after this process that you go through, when I look at the finished piece of graphic poetry, some of the physical the words themselves may not be there, but they'll be replaced by images?
Yes.
Okay.
Replaced by images. So I have a radio tower with me today.
Okay.
So I think it's a great example to see what is graphic poetry.
Yes.
And then also second meaning of trans-sensory is trans means transport. So I would like the audience or reader to transport all the information from my graphic poetry, decoding into your brain, and then use all your sensory to explore your emotion, attached to my graphic poetry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. And you just did a show at Woman Made Gallery?
Yes.
And so this was one of the pieces that was there?
Yes, one of the highlight piece, and I'm very thankful Woman Made Gallery. They gave me a very nice space. So it was my first time to show 11, 12 pieces of graphic poetry.
Oh wow, yeah. That is quite an honor.
It was thankful and all that. I'm very always fortunate, lucky to have a lot of people support my activity, my poetry activity. Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see how your new book, your new collection, working with Tupelo Press. So how far along is that? I mean, are we just in the beginning stages, or are you getting close to finishing the book? Or
thank you very much for asking. I just finished 32 graphic poetry.
Oh, wow.
So I started last December, 2016 December. Then I created 32 graphic poetry. Now Tupelo Press is going to photo shooting, appropriately for our publication. So I'm talking to editors, Jeffrey and Cassandra. They are wonderful people. They always support me to explore my poetry, what I can do for next, step.
Oh my goodness, wow. So it'll be more, will the poems appear in two forms, like as text and then also in the artwork, or is it's just going to be the color photos of the finished?
Just a graphic poetry over 32 so far. That's what we are talking about.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So how did you get started in graphic poetry? I mean, obviously you have some artistic ability, with visual art, as well as with words.
Yes.
So what started this?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. I always wanted to collaborate art and words. And when I was in college, I have an essay along with my art.
Okay.
But I always, kind of how can I interact each other in a very effective way? Because I wouldn't like to be just like a picture book type. This is a poem, this is the art. I think it's a wonderful, some form are very wonderful. However, I would like to be beyond of just a picture and words. So last June, I actually left my full-time job to search what I can do as a poet, as an artist. So I gave myself for 1 year, and thankfully my husband is very supportive as well. Okay. And then we saved up in a certain finance, and I decided to take 1 year off. Okay. So then I had several residence program. One is supported by Tupelo Press.
Okay.
I was MassMoCA, Massachusetts Contemporary Art Museum in North Adams, Massachusetts. There I saw very avant-garde contemporary art. Some of them are very eccentric.
Okay.
Some of them are a little bit difficult to approach, but it was inspired me. There is the arts, in the many shape and forms. And then later, also I visited to New York City to visit many museums over there. Then I start clicking, what if I adapt arts and the words into one, kind of in a mixing everything together into blender,
right.
and then kind of splash all over on the paper.
Yeah.
What if I can do, how I can do? Then I start creating a little bit about like a cartoon style, like a graphic novel in a way.
Right.
I like graphic novel or graphic comic. One of my favorite is Adventure of Tintin.
Oh yes,
that's actually it's my textbooks to study English. When I was little. So it looks like a cartoonish from the beginning.
Okay.
Then I think this poetry is I like the cartoon style. However, I would like to do a little bit more graphic style, more art form style. Then I studied a little bit about the traditional Japanese art technique. It's that e-maki, which is the paper scroll poetry book. Looks like a ancient calligraphy, like a picture book type.
All right.
They always collaborate with the stories and art. So I start when I went back to my hometown, Nagoya, Japan, I visited several museums, traditional museum, Japanese history museum. Then, okay, what I can do, graphic novel, graphic comic style to bring into Japanese traditional technique,
Okay.
and then poetry from my side. Then I came up graphic poetry, trans-sensory. That's my project began. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Well, but it's a fascinating process. So, the poems that you're working with now in this project, but you've written all the poems now, and then you're approaching, or do you create the poem? Sometimes create the poem as you are working on them.
It's very good question, because I would like to my poetry portion be well written, because I wouldn't like to excuse, because of art here, so art is wonderful. That's the reason your written part may not be perfect, but art will cover. I wouldn't like to do that. So I would like to written parts as a professional poet. As a poet, I would like to be a nicely written. So first, right now, my first collection, which is a graphic poetry, trans-sensory, is all of them are published in somewhere, maybe online, maybe college journals, paper journals, domestic, internationally.
So
yes.
right, some of the ones that you mentioned in your bio, the like Hotel America or Prairie Schooner.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But currently, I'm a little bit changing, because I would believe poetry as a jazz, or poetry as a kind of enjoy a moment creation. So what if I write a poem like today, and then immediately translate into graphic poetry?
Okay.
I think it's kind of interesting, maybe another spark, maybe the moment of a creation. So I'm started doing a little bit. But so far, my project is publish the poem and then translate into graphic poetry.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a good project. And it certainly, I'm sure your publishers, it probably gave them confidence knowing that your poems in and of themselves have already been selected by other professional journals, and then now you're just taking this to a new creative expression. So it's kind of like good to have sort of a pedigree or a stamp of approval from the other publishers.
Word. Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of publishers, I understand you were a fellow this summer with Rhino.
Yes.
And what was that? What did you do for Rhino?
For Rhino, Rhino Poetry, they are very kind to have me as a summer fellow.
Okay.
Summer fellow is like same things to do with editorial board. So there is Rhino Poetry has a editor-in-chief, so Ralph, and then senior editors is two people, Angela and Virginia, and then there are a lot of experienced editors underneath of them. And then once in 2 weeks, we get together and discuss about poetry. What poem is going to be in the next issue of Rhino? Okay. Then I learned a lot from editorial point of view, because poetry itself is very wonderfully written, but editors look at in a very different point of view. So that's as a poet, as a writer, I think it's a great tip to learn.
Okay, sure.
So it has
so
been
what secrets can you reveal to the poets in the audience that you learned, like what would drive the editors crazy, or what were they looking for?
What they are looking for. It's kind of corny to say, but poetry from the heart, you can tell this is a fake emotional poem, or it's really you have a think about it. Takes a long time to search one word and then create one poem. You can tell this is like created like tragedy.
Okay.
Maybe people in your head thinking about what if, what if my love, very close person passed away? But in your head, or you actually, felt your mother passed away, or some close people passed away. It's a different feeling, imagination or real emotion.
Right.
So poems with real emotion is usually
better than
okay. Kind of imaginary poem. Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I do want you to have an opportunity to read one of your poems. Did you want to read Radio Tower?
Oh, yeah,
or
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yes. So Radio Tower is my home no home. Radio Tower. After March 11, 2011 in Japan. For Miki Endo. Run up to the hill. I repeated from the radio tower. The tsunami slithers over the seaweed garden. A child is held in its mother's arms. They are almost at the hill. When the microphone slips from my hand, clay seals my mouth. I hear Wagner's aria in my skull. Clovers grow, their dewdrops glitter under the stardust. Promise me home like a bubble in the sea, like a seagull, like everyone else.
Okay. Wow. So then, what was your process when you were originally writing the
Yes.
poem?
So original poem, Radio Tower, was based on fact.
Okay.
So we have, in Japan, there's a big earthquake in Tohoku area, March 11, 2011. Yeah, 2011. So the person, I dedicated this poem to Miki Endo. So Miki Endo, she is an office worker at the government facility. She works for emergency announcement department. So on the day when tsunami happened, she was making announcement, please run away, tsunami is coming, please go up to the high hill, over the hill. So she made announcement until that building was knocked down by tsunami.
So the building that she was in was destroyed by the tsunami.
Correct.
And so, am I correct in thinking that she died?
Yeah, she passed
Oh,
away,
my goodness.
unfortunately. But you may see YouTube, you can actually hear her brave voice. Her voice is very calm, so lots of people were saved by her announcement. And then when I read this news, I was deeply sorry for her friends, family, beyond, around her community. Then my poetry style is I research about fact. I learn about fact. Sometimes I interview people and then convert into first narrative. So that's the reason Radio Tower is first narrative. I repeat it. Run up to the hill. I repeat it from the Radio Tower.
Okay, so that's her expression. Her words were run up to the hill.
Right.
Okay, and she's saying it from the radio tower.
From the Radio Tower.
Wow.
So that was my original poem. And then this is my one of the important piece I care about. So I translated into graphic poetry.
And I mean, it's interesting because it's not a literal. The images. I mean, I do see a lot of blue. So is that the tsunami?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
May I point it out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We might be able. I'm not sure if we'll be able to
Okay.
picture. But yeah, yes. Go ahead. Talk about it.
So, blue dots, blue bubbles. There's a tsunami, like wave-like bubbles
Okay.
surround her. This is the girl, upside down girl. And then there is an empty building
Okay.
on the earth. And then also you can see several people shape
Running.
running
Right. Okay.
on that top right corner.
Okay.
This is actually that cut out from supermarket advertisement.
Oh my goodness. Wow. All right.
The reason why to use those paper, well, people consume a lot of fruits, vegetable, meat, everyday life, but in case of emergency or some natural disaster comes,
Right.
it kind of doesn't matter, even though people, rich, poor, or women,
Right.
men, everybody was kind of unfortunately swept away by tsunami.
Yeah.
So that's representative. Those images are represented by those. Yes.
Oh wow. Oh boy. Very intense. And certainly, I didn't know the story about the woman and the voice, so that you're telling me about it now just makes the experience of the poem and the art so much more meaningful and so much richer. Wow. So I see that there's a lot of symbolism, and so that things have different layers.
Yes, different layers. Yes,
Yeah.
It's upside down, and title is upside down.
Right.
Also, there is the Saint Mary cutout between the title and the girl.
Oh, okay.
This Saint Mary is actually come from Antwerp, Belgium. Antwerp, Belgium, there is the cathedral, big, beautiful cathedral there. They actually helped Kobe earthquake in Japan. So I thought it's a kind of nice connection between,
Yes.
earthquake connections in a way. But I put the upside down because, again, under the natural disaster, God may not be able to help everybody.
Oh, wow.
Or
Okay.
any
Yes.
under circumstance. Yeah.
Okay, so the world is upside down in the tragedy, in the experience of the tsunami. And,
Right.
Oh wow. Okay. So it's obviously not something that you get just by reading the poem in the book on the printed page. You wouldn't necessarily, but I think having the visual does add new layers,
Yeah.
new richness to the experience. And now, with the thing about the St. Mary from Antwerp was that was something that you researched afterwards, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Also, Belgium is one of my favorite countries because it's the Tintin is Belgium.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Tintin. All right. Now we get back. Okay.
Yes. So my husband and I drove Belgium a couple years ago.
All right.
And then
and that's where you saw the cathedral. Okay.
Actually, the pamphlet from there, I cut it out and I use it for my art.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow. That's very fascinating. What's next for you?
Well, next is it's thank you for asking because I just started my project, 1950s project. That's I call project 1950s. What I do is I studied poets from 1950s.
Okay.
Like Elizabeth Bishop, E. Cummings, all the famous poets.
All right.
So what I do is, like, for example, Elizabeth Bishop, her very famous poem in the waiting room. You probably know. So I adapt her in the waiting room poems, mimic her style line by line with current issue. So in the waiting room is Elizabeth Bishop in the waiting room. In the dentist, I believe, in the hospital dentist. and she's waiting for her aunt. She's observing National Geographic magazine, and she's observing people, and in the end, it's like she is realizing she is becoming a woman. It's same as her aunt. So that's like a brief summary of that poem.
Right.
It's a very long poem. Then what I do is, so I mimic her poem into current issue, which I adopted is artificial intelligence. So I adopted the issue of artificial intelligence.
Okay. Artificial intelligence, yes?
Yes. And then with a point of view of Japanese American immigrant point of view.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Interesting. So, but why did you pick the 50s?
1950s.
Why did you pick 50s?
That's a good question because it's actually a lot of people ask me for that. 1950s is interesting era because it's not yet very long time ago. It's not history yet.
Right.
However, it's people living there. Like for example, I think if I use an example from art, Andy Warhol. Now he is the stylized.
Okay.
So if and then he is kind of branching off his art theme and connected to contemporary art movement.
Okay.
So similar to poetry, 1950s, Elizabeth Bishop. Now it's a lot of people knows about her.
Yeah.
And then she is definitely one of a strong branch off from contemporary poetry movement.
Right.
Same as other poets, E. Cummings or other poets.
Okay.
Yeah, Nuero. I'm sorry for that pronunciation. Yes,
That's
but
all right.
yeah.
That's all right. Wow. So that's why you're wearing the dress?
Thank you. Yes, this is made by my mother. She is very like a fashion designer. She made a lot of clothes.
Oh,
Most
wow.
of my dress or summer skirts or like outfit are made by my mother.
Oh, wow.
She designed, and then very fortunate I didn't change my height or weight since I'm 12. So
That is very fortunate.
thank you. So my mom have my pattern of my sizes. So she once in a while she send me a package from Japan.
Okay.
And this was very nicely arrived at last week.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, so it's brand new to you.
It was brand new, and then it was a perfect moment at the Women's Made Gallery for the exhibition. And today is a special day with you.
Right. Oh,
yes,
well, thank you.
From the Hyde Park. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I love the pineapples.
Yeah.
So festive and summery and
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
great.
I like a pineapple too. I actually saw pineapple sunglasses yesterday.
Okay.
And then I should have a.
That would be a good thing.
Get it, yeah.
Right. Well, you've got so much exciting things going on. This current project with Tupelo Press, the Transsensory, and then now your new 1950s project. Very exciting, very interesting, and I just have to thank your husband for his support to allow you this wonderful year of creativity and exploration and research, and I'm so grateful that our schedules worked out and that you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, certainly. We hope and we wish you best of success. So
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. And I was getting, do you go back to school, or are you doing any studying, or are you still so you're not working except on the projects now.
Right.
Is that right?
Correct. But I am interested in what I can do beyond the poetry. Poetry is definitely core of my lifestyle. But what if I can do with the pottery, or what if was whether I can translate into many forms? That's I am looking for.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and best of success
Thank
to you
you.
on your a journey of exploration.
Thank you.
We'll be looking for you in the bookstores.